First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Club Marion for the gracious introduction for me. I'd also like to thank Della Barr, Sarah Munger for helping me get out here, get me situated, taking me on a tour of your great facility. I got a chance to walk around and see exactly what you guys do, and I'm pretty impressed. What I figured I'd talk about tonight is just a brief background of my military career, a little bit about my injury, what exactly happened, the recovery part, and then my lessons learned. As Club said earlier, I initially started my career in the military in my junior year of high school. I had witnessed my brother who had joined the National Guard in his junior year of high school. And up till then, the only real experience I had in the military was with my grandmother who served in the Navy. So seeing my brother do this, it made me motivated to kind of follow in his footsteps. After he graduated high school, he joined the active service and went on to Hawaii. So following in his footsteps, I graduated high school and came right off into the military. Throughout my military career, I had the chance to actually attend a lot of great schools. One being jump school. For some of you guys might say, it's not right to actually jump out of a perfectly good airplane, but it's actually a lot of fun. Following that, I got the chance to go to jump master school, and that's where you actually get the chance to learn a little bit more about the aircraft, how to inspect it, how to rig it, and how to properly put those jumpers out of the aircraft so they don't get hurt. I also graduated Ranger School. Ranger School is a unique opportunity. It's the Army's premier leadership course. Not only do you get the chance to really prove something to other people that you can do it, you actually find out a lot about yourself. They take away your sleep, they take away your food, and they put you in some unique, stressful positions. And at the end of the course, you find out exactly how far you can push yourself, how far you can push your body, how far you can push your mind. But with that, it's still a team effort. There's nobody who graduates Ranger School without a little bit of help from his peers. Looking at that person to your left and right and depending on them and helping them get through. Through that course, you actually get a chance to grade your peers. So you grade them, and if you don't do well enough, you don't graduate the course. So it's one more stressor that teamwork really is what wins the battle. After I was a Ranger instructor for 4 years walking students, I was stationed up at Fort Drum, New York, and I deployed in August of '06 to Iraq. My area of occupants was South Baghdad, a little area that they call the Sunni Triangle. For some of you who watched CNN and Fox News during '06-'07, it was called the Triangle of Death because of the amount of people that we lost during that time frame. My job, when I got hurt at the time, I was attached to an engineer unit conducting road clearing missions. Our job was very basic. Go out, find the roadside bombs. There's one of two ways that happened. Either you found the bombs or they found you. The day I got injured was like any other day. We were traveling down the road. We came up upon a dead-end street. We had no choice but to go down the street and come back up, which normally you would not do. Coming back up the road, my vehicle was struck by an improvised explosive device, or roadside bomb, which consisted of two 155mm artillery rounds. For those of you that don't know what that is, if you've ever seen the really big naval gun cannons on the warships, it's 2 of their rounds. And attached to those 2 rounds was a propane tank. I was traveling in a Humvee. They detonated the device. It exploded. It pretty much ripped through my vehicle, killing my driver, my gunner, and now ultimately my medic as well. I was tossed from the vehicle. I can remember hitting the ground. I can remember the explosion. I can remember looking up at the vehicle and not seeing anybody moving. What I didn't realize is that I was on fire. And there wasn't anything I could do about it. But I could hear my guys yelling at me that they were coming. Sorry. They hit me with the fire extinguisher, and I could feel that cooling sensation coming over my body. And it was one of the best things I can remember. It's because I knew I was being saved, but at the same time it felt good. The minute that I actually recovered, I kind of gained my composure a little bit, and I probably still was in shock a little bit. I started yelling out commands to my guys, telling them to get security up, to get the landing zone for the helicopter set up, and to start sending out the reports to the higher chain of command. It's everything that, in that situation, my duty position was supposed to do. All I could think about is what we trained for and how to do it. But the thing I had realized later on is I didn't have to give out those commands. My guys were already doing it. They were doing exactly what we had trained. I cannot express or stress enough what it takes to actually conduct training, and what the end result would be. And it doesn't take a combat situation to realize that training is the most important thing you can do. One of the things that's remarkable about my situation is that when I was on the ground after they had put me out, one of my sergeants, who was not one of my best soldiers, I was constantly yelling at him, constantly making him do extra work, constantly, trying to supervise him to make sure he was making the right decisions. Because in the past, he had proven to make bad decisions. He was actually the one who stepped up that day. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be standing here right now. It was his training that told the other guys that they can't just drag me off the road, that they have to have a spine for it. Because had they drug me off the road, being in the burnt condition I was, it would have been like a piece of chicken where you scuff off the skin. Basically, that would have happened to me. I was transported to Baghdad. I was stabilized for 8 hours before they could get an airplane down from Launchville, Germany. They sent a special plane down, loaded me up, and took me to Launchville, Germany, where they had to stabilize me again for about 24 hours, and then I was taken to Brooklyn Medical Center. I was injured on February 27th, 07. Since then, I've completed 4 years of recovery. And to tell you the truth, the recovery part never really stops. But the one thing I can say is that you take a lot of lessons learned looking back at this situation. Again, the first part being training. We train for everything. We train our guys to pay attention to small details. We train them to make decisions under stressful conditions. And we train them to win. Well, you can look at, me and say, well, we're not in a combat situation here at Cessna. But that training and that individual task still applies. If you think about, taking your employees and training them to do your job, you shouldn't think about it as, well, they're going to take my job if I train them to do my job. Because a good leader is always going to look two positions higher, to always strive for that position that's higher. And if the training is conducted properly, your products and services gets that much better, and the company itself is benefited by that. The other thing I want to cover is the leadership. Army defines leadership as a leader is somebody who can train their soldiers, get them to follow them into combat, and win. For me, good leadership is always setting the example for everybody that's looking at you. You always want to lead from the front. You never want to be the guy in the back who's always kind of lagging behind. You always want to be the one in front, knowing exactly how to do every single task. Sorry, I'm kind of blind, so reading my notes is kind of hard at times. Really, I think the best thing I can actually do at this point, said, you know, I can go through my notes and read all this stuff verbatim, but I really don't think it really says enough to who I am. I think the best way that people actually learn about stuff like this is by questions. So I'm actually going to open up the floor to you guys to be able to ask me anything that you guys feel. You know, feel free to ask about my military career. Feel free to ask about my injury or my recovery process, or even anything else that you guys can think of. You know, pretty much no holds bar. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I've probably heard it pretty much all before. So you got any questions?
What's the biggest challenge that you had in your recovery?
For me, my biggest challenge, probably at the very beginning, was acceptance. I didn't want to accept the fact that I lost my hands at the initial part. You might have heard of phantom pains. I call it phantom sensations. I still feel like I have hands. So when my mother was in the hospital telling me, "You've lost your hands," you know, I was head-to-toe bandages. I couldn't really see down that low, so I couldn't tell if I had hands or not, but I felt them. So it took forever to actually convince me that I didn't have hands. And once I realized I didn't have hands, then the true challenges began. I became strictly dependent on my mother to do pretty much everything for me. And if she wasn't around, I had to find somebody around that could do those things for me. I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't bathe myself, I couldn't dress myself. And the level of frustration that comes with that is sometimes unbearable. So, with my mother being my caretaker, she really took a lot of the anger, a lot of the punishment that I was dishing out at the time. As I got my prosthetics, it became a lot better because you get some of that independency back. And, you know, Mom got to watch a lot of those first again. You know, I had to teach myself how to walk again, so she got to see me walk. You know, she got to see me dress myself again, start to bathe myself, feed myself. And so it's almost like growing a whole new person throughout the process. But as you start to do those things, you start to fall back on those character traits that I've kind of lived my life by, the don't quit, never give up, always push forward, and always complete the mission. So, you know, little bit by little bit, I was able to push through and continue my life. Anyone else?
How much of your sight did you lose?
I'm pretty much completely blind in my left eye. I have a scarred cornea in my left eye, so I can kind of see light, but pretty much no vision. And then in my right eye, you know, basically like looking in the room, I can see everybody in here, but the amount of detail isn't really there. Even looking at my notes here in front of me, it's hard for me to read it. And the vision's bad enough where I can't drive. I think if I were to get a license, they'd probably top me out daytime only at about 45 miles an hour, which where I live in San Antonio, won't even get me out of my house in there. It's pretty bad. It's probably why they also put speed bumps in there for me too. Who else?
Mike, this morning you shared with me a story about a jump, and you got injured on the jump, and then there were some things that transpired after that were kind of leadership moments that I was hoping that you could share.
When I was, one of the jumps we did, I had come in and I had a bad jump. I was coming in on the drop zone, and the grass was kind of high, and typically when the grass is high, you think of kind of a marshy area, so you think it's going to be a nice soft landing. And I'll tell you, with the military parachute, there's never a soft landing. But I didn't see in the drop zone was a rock, and basically my ankle rolled right over that rock. And I knew it hurt, but I packed up my gear. My guys were watching me. And the thing that we had to do is, we still had to walk after that. We still had about 6 miles to walk, with probably about 75 pounds on our back. And I just kept telling myself that it wasn't broken. I kept telling myself that my ankle was just sprained. And I should have known better, because every time I take a step, my foot would stay behind me. I'd have to swing it in front of me. And I did that for 6 miles.
Oh.
At the end of the march, I actually called for the medic, and the medic came over. I was like, "Man, I think it's broke." And they had to cut my boot off because my ankle had swollen so bad. And we went to the hospital, and when they x-rayed it, I found out I actually broke it in 3 spots. But the fact was that my guys didn't see me quit. I would never let my guys see me quit. Because even in that environment where they know you're hurt and you shouldn't really continue, just in the fact that if I would have quit right there, it would have changed their perception of me. It would have changed that fact that, well, if I can quit in an environment like that, well, if there's another environment I might quit in. So the fact that I didn't quit, my guys had that much more respect, the fact that they knew I'd always tough it out.
Hey, Mike, talk about some of your volunteer activity that you do for veterans. Proper Exit and Gallant Few.
Okay, the one that you just mentioned, Operation Proper Exit, there's a nonprofit out of the DC area called Troops First Foundation. And they came up with a program called Operation Proper Exit, where they take wounded veterans back to Iraq to gain closure. And I'm really good friends with the president of the organization. When they first started it up, they're like, well, do you want to go back? I'm like, absolutely. But unfortunately, with the burns, I can't really, I don't sweat like a normal person does, so a lot of my body heat stays in. So typically I run about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than everybody else. And they were going to go in July. Well, in July in Iraq is probably like 125 degrees, which is more like 140 degrees for me. So I had to pass. But I kept talking with them, and I'm like, well, if you want some burn guys to go back, you're going to have to do a winter trip.